Well, everybody. Different little intro video there. Yeah, we were having some difficulties, but we're here ready to rock. It's match day. It's Juve versus Milan. And the news never, ever dull around Juventus, okay? So we're going to talk about it all. The whole Colomwani debacle. You've got Cambiaso getting ready to leave, packing bags for City. And fans furious with Giuntoli. Meanwhile, where the fuck are the center backs, boys? What are we doing here? We're going to take a look at all of it right now together. I got Trim. I've got Paolo. Trim, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. Good. Just trying to, stay positive through this turbulent time that we're currently experiencing. But, just like the team, you just ride the wave and hope for the best.
Turbulent time. Turbulence. Yeah.
Feels like it at least.
Bumpy ride. Buckle up. Paolo, how you doing today, brother?
Well, I'm not sure. I was putting on the Spanx today and trying to fix my hair, and I couldn't get either one right. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling, if I'm going to be snarky, happy, positive, pessimistic, angry, swearing. I don't know. So,
well, I guess we'll find out together. So we'll go through this. We'll say what's up to everybody in the chat here. I see the discussion has been waging on here, but well before we even got to the green room. And honestly, I love it. There's a ton to discuss. A lot of mixed feelings right now. Giuntoli really facing some heat. I guess we might as well just kick things off with the big one that kind of comes out of nowhere, and that's Cambiaso and City. And, working in advanced talks, according to Fabrizio Romano, on a 5-year deal with 1-year option, $6 million per season for him. And then Juve's apparently supposed to see an offer come in, and Fabrizio Romano did a really good job yesterday of his breakdown, because everybody immediately went to level 10, and he just said, look, it's City where Pep admires Cambiaso. They've reached out, they're talking about an agreement. Cambiaso's not pushing to leave, Juve's not looking for him to leave. But now all of a sudden becomes this market opportunity that nobody really knows which way it's going to go. And Fabrizio added, I have no idea if this is even for January. He said this could be for the summer. But I think we can all agree January is not the time. Like, I'm saying January is not the time, no matter what. We agree here, fellas?
Yeah, 100%.
January is not the time.
Right.
But now we'll get you guys to elaborate on if this even happens in the summer, because a lot are just saying absolutely not. 65 million. Some are saying go to 100, etc. But let's get your thoughts on this if it were to go down. And we'll start with Paolo.
Well, good morning, everybody. I think if this happens in January, the only advantage for us is that we get more money. You can ask a bigger price if they want to secure the deal. Man City is buying a lot right now. So what occurred to me was, do they know something about these 112 cases against them? Do they know that they have a certain amount of time to buy and then they're cut off? Do they know that they're only getting a slap on the wrist so they can start buying now? Pep was going to leave, and then he signed a year, probably to find out what's going to happen next. So I think there's a lot going on the Man City side, and that has me curious whether it happens in January or in the summer. I love Cambiaso. I'd be sad to see him go. If we were to use January as an opportunity to get 80 million or something for him, I think you have to think about that. Tough spot to fill, tough spot for us to make up for in the middle of the season. So it's curious, and without an offer arriving yet, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. And just to touch on the point you made there, it is believed that they are going to see a transfer ban, and they're trying to get moves in so that they can effectively be ahead of the curve when that happens. So that's kind of what's being rumored out there. Trim, your thoughts on if this move were to go down? What do you like? What don't you like? What would you change to make you okay with it? Or are you just not okay with it, period?
So initial gut reaction was obviously right away like, what's going on? So I'll kind of paint a picture for you. I was, diligently working away that the other day when the news broke, and my phone was just going off, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I know it's our group chat, so I try to like, keep it on silent, whatever. And I'm like, okay, something's going on, because it doesn't usually go off this much. So the first thing I see is that fee, the team, and the player, and I'm just like, I stopped dead in my tracks. I'm like, nope. I literally closed my phone. I'm like, I can't do this right now because I'm pretty busy at work, but had some time to think about it. So initial gut reaction was, obviously you don't want to see a player like Cambiaso go. Number one, he's Italian, grew up loving the team, consider him a core player. But when I looked at that number, I was like, okay, I can kind of make sense of it. I know we talked about it in our team chat a little bit with Lou, and Lou mentioned how fullbacks for that price, it's pretty insane. So trying to make sense of it, I just told myself, okay, I'm hoping that in the background, Giuntoli's got something going down where he's got at least 2 to maybe even 3 players where he can spread that money out and purchase some depth for the team. Because I mentioned, I think even in our chat, that, it's almost like they're trying to recoup assets for all the players that they let go in the summer, which, again, I was not really happy with. I know we discussed it a lot in the summer, Al, about getting rid of the depth and getting rid of guys like Danilo now too. You're trying to plug holes with little to no assets and very little money to do so. But I think, like I said, we can all agree January is not the time to make this move. Again, unless he's got something in the background where he's got deals with some players and teams that are willing to let players go now. But I just think it would be too much change in such a short period of time that it can actually further mess up the season more than it already kind of is. Like, you don't want to further kind of steer this in a wrong direction. Like, we're kind of already going in a bad direction as it is right now. We got to kind of like steer the ship clear and try to move forward and progress a bit. So yeah, that's kind of my initial reaction.
For me, it was like, okay, there's a lot to process in this entire thing. Like, it's not so cut and dry. Number one, it wasn't clear whether it was January or it was the summer. They started with January and then it was like, oh, it could be the summer or whatever. It's just media really jumping on this thing. January's not the time for the sporting side. Because then even the money that you're going to gain, you're going to be throwing on something that's going to be overpriced because it's January. So January is not the time to make a move. It is to get the most out of Cambiaso right now. But again, it's not the be-all end-all. You don't have to force this thing, okay? They're the ones shopping. And he's going to have clubs interested. He had clubs interested at the end of last season. So it is what it is. But doing it now shoots yourself in the foot for the position that you're currently at in the table and where you're trying to get to. It's just a no. Overall, the thought process around this is our team is incomplete. Our team lacks depth. It's probably the right call to look at selling and getting one massive lump of capital in order to fuel several moves. I understand it sucks to lose one of your better players, okay? One of your best players. I get it. We're not in the position to kind of turn down massive capital. It was always heading down this road. Like, why is the team incomplete? This team is incomplete. I think it's clear, like, we don't have the depth. How are we complete? How are we complete? This team is incomplete. It's still a work in progress. You've got a midfielder filling in as a left back, for Christ's sake. You've got no center back coverage. You have no striker coverage. You're banking on 19-year-olds going off up top. It's not complete. It isn't. If you believe it is, I'm going to argue that every single time. It isn't. It isn't. The quickest way to make a jump is to get that big sale and then disperse it. I completely understand, however, if you have concerns about how that money's going to be spent or if it's going to be proper. Then I understand that concern, because we're all going to have that concern. Because if you're going to say goodbye to a fan favorite and you're going to say goodbye to one of the guys that should be in your core, you better be hitting on the backside of it. But right now, I don't want to see a team that's incomplete continue on with patchwork and just like trying all these gap filler moves and whatnot. Like, I'm not down with that. Like, if this, and again, people are getting the numbers wrong all over the place. If you were to get 70 million euros for this guy, people are like, well, what's the capital on that? It's going to be like, what, 40, whatever. No, it's like almost all capital. Just shy of like 10 gets taken away from that. That's as close to pure capital for one of these guys you're going to get. The only guy that symbolizes a move as close to that as you can get is Kenan Yildiz.
Right.
Do you sell Yildiz before Cambiaso?
No.
I don't. And that's just being honest. I wouldn't. That's a lot of money. And that should help you with the build, because we're still building. 60 to 70 mil in capital, if you get around that money on one player, that could almost fuel an entire mercado, like 4 players, depending on the deals, depending on contract terms, salary, etc. Because people need to remember, you're not buying David Henschel for 30 million and that takes off that capital immediately. No, if he signs on a 5-year term, it's 6 million that gets erased from that capital, plus his salary. It's the annual cost that gets taken away. That's why you really have to think about this. I'm just saying, I can see the reasoning behind it. I don't have to like it, because Cambiaso is like my favorite player on the team, but I understand it. And to be honest, you're battling this emotion of how are you going to get to your best if you get rid of your best players? But are you not trying to do that in sparking a move that could see you make 4 pickups? And again, I know you've missed on some big signings so far. It's not written off completely, but they haven't started life off in Turin, the greatest. But it doesn't mean that you stop swinging. You still have to take your shots. Like, I don't understand this. So we didn't like a few of the pickups, so we just throw in the towel now? This team is incomplete, though. And you're going to have to look at a move like this. Otherwise, what are you doing? It's been like this for the while, everybody. Until the money is at a clean slate, guess what? It's sell to buy. That's my thoughts on it. Somehow, it sucks, right? But it's where we're at.
Yeah, got to make it up somehow, right? So, one thing I was just going to mention kind of quickly was, like, if Feyenoord was open to selling Hancho in January, he'd be obviously the one for sure pickup of, let's say, if it's 3 players or 4 players that we use that money, Cambiaso's money, to pick up. He'd be one of the players I would think we would be getting first, but they're not willing to sell him mid-season, so that kind of puts a wrench in things. And then also to your point of the capital, Al, because I was just thinking in my head, Giuntoli is most likely has been looking at our roster in general and saying, okay, who are some guys that we can actually move? Is there any interest? And like, the first name that popped into my head is if we could sell a guy like Vlahovic. But again, we're not going to be generating a lot of capital on that kind of a sale anyways, because of what we'd be selling him for right now. He's arguably on a low considering what we paid for him. So even that wouldn't necessarily help us because you're not generating enough capital, right? So like, you know, we could all sit here and say like, we don't want to sell Cambiaso. We'd rather sell, let's say, Vlahovic as an example. But you have to take into account, number one, the interest in the players. Number two, what did we purchase them for and what are we actually going to sell them for to factor in the capital, right? So it's like all these things we tend to forget as fans because we get so emotionally invested in the players and the team. And that's why, to your point of you brought up Romano's kind of breakdown of it yesterday. When I heard that, it like reassured my initial feelings because again, I was so quick to, starting to get kind of red hot about it. And then the more I kind of settled down and started thinking about it and like logically trying to explain to myself, okay, 65 to 70 million, a player that we spent, what did we pick Cambiaso up for? 10 or 12 million euro?
13 million in 21-22.
There you go. So 13 million, like you said, the capital on that for, again, a potential, yes, core piece, but what is his ceiling? Do we even know how much better or can he get? I don't know. Like, you got to kind of factor all these things in, and it's frustrating from a fan's point of view because I understand, like, we just want to watch the matches and watch the players play and just enjoy that aspect of it. But I mean, again, it's a business, and it's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Well,
right?
how do you come up with 60 million capital if it's going to be around that? How do you come up with 60 million capital either? Even if you sell Vlahovic,
Yep, exactly.
There's on a good deal maybe 20 capital there. So
Right.
then where are you looking?
Yeah.
How many guys do you want to take away from the team to reach that number? How many guys do you want to take away from the team then? So what's more detrimental? Like, from a sporting perspective, I get it. I get it 100% because your team is not finalized. Your team is not complete. It isn't. It's so far from it. And I don't want to see a team scrape by bare minimum objectives year after year after year and not take chances and risk in order to get better. And the last piece I got to say about this whole thing that nobody's even really talking about. Cambiaso, you can show respect to a club that's interested. It doesn't mean you automatically have to enter negotiations for an agreement.
Yeah.
The fact that he's doing that as well, like, I don't know, and Juve wasn't shopping him. According to Romano and everybody, this is Pep and this is City approaching a player that they admire. Juve's not pushing him out, and Cambiaso was not pushing for a move. But he was pretty damn quick to go from Juve is my Real Madrid that you said in October to now all of a sudden having a 5-year term agreed upon with City. Just like that at the first phone call? I don't know.
I got a few thoughts on this, Bert and Trim. I think I want to say this. If a young player like Cambiaso in his prime wants to try something new, if he wants to go to another team with a new coach in a new league and try something new, it doesn't matter whether I like it or not. I think the fans have a right to be disappointed or upset or betrayed or think he's putting himself first. But I think players have that option. They've worked their whole life to have a career in this game, and they can play where they want if they're lucky enough to have that choice. But that said, I think what's been troubling me this whole year is I've been kind of wringing Motta's neck around what I see every game. And I'm shifting a little bit to being a little more understanding lately because the lack of depth we have has really affected the results. We've got guys playing out of position. We've got two center backs who aren't naturally starting center backs game after game after game playing that position. So I think we're showing our weakness. The cracks are showing. Players are getting tired sooner. They're being stressed out, and it's causing us to lose leads. So I think we do need the depth. I think if you can get a lot of money for a player right now and finish replenishing that bench, I think it helps. It sucks that we can't consider moving a guy like Cambiaso because we have so much depth on the bench that we can put another piece in. Like, ideally, you want to be always moving pieces and selling high and bringing in the next man up, that kind of thing, and always being competitive while always making money. That's what you want to be doing. It sucks that we don't have the depth to do that because it takes away that whole opportunity from a business perspective, and it stresses our players in the meantime when we can't hold leads. So I think that's a consideration. And my last thought on this is what kind of sucks too now is if we do get, let's say, 60, 70, or 80, anybody who's going to be shopping to us, who's already biased, already going to jack up the price, is now thinking, well, now you have 70 or 80 to spend, so we're going to make Dorku 40. The fucking guy, all right, is on like a $3 million contract. Not even. He's so cheap, and yet now he's going to cost 40 to us. So I think that's the other things, that when you do get money, right now we're vulnerable, and people are going to jack up their prices. So there's a lot of layers to this that are a bit frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, historically, we've always sold too, though. Like, that's the thing, is like, we've always sold.
Right.
I don't understand like this crazy thing. It's just, your team has to be in a position. If you're going to say no to that money, you've got to be in the position to do so. We don't have that luxury right now. That's just the reality. We don't have that luxury right now to say no to that. Your team it's not anywhere near where it needs to be to compete in all these competitions. We've all highlighted that over and over and over. So you do need to retool. This is the easiest way to retool. Go back to 2001 when everybody hated selling Zidane. But you retooled. We hated it. A lot of us hated selling Paul Pogba. It funded the move that we wanted up top. Like, we've always, oh yeah, he wanted to go. Zidane wanted to go. Well, guess what? Ultimately, Cambiaso only goes if he wants to go too. Players always have the final say. I'm just saying that from a sporting side and a build, because this build is not done. That's what I mean by complete. Like, it's just not done. It isn't done. I'd rather see the team take strides into getting better overall as a group. And I don't have any time. I see comments like, did you start supporting Juve because a whole or complete team? Doubt it was because of a player or whatever. Okay, sure. Did I follow that player? Like, through thick and thin, wherever the hell they went? No. And again, different times, different circumstances, different situations. I'm a Juve supporter, not a Cambiaso supporter. Like, the reasoning is there. And again, I've said it over and over and over. Until the finances are cleaned up, don't get comfortable. I think we started talking about it last year, Trim, and not getting players on kits anymore because it could be a bumpy ride. This is a prime example. Told you. Like, again, so who funds? Because it's still sell to buy. So you guys want to keep him at all costs, or you want to keep another player at all costs? Show me the money. Show me where the money comes from, because otherwise you're just selling to buy. You cannot have faith. You cannot have faith if in Giuntoli's moves, etc. That's a different story. We'll get to Giuntoli because we are going to crack into that. But it doesn't mean you stop taking shots and taking strides. And again, this is about as evenly split as I've ever seen. So it makes sense why it's so polarizing. Like, 49% said yes, we will sell Cambiaso. 51% said no. That is smack dab right in the middle. And it's showing. It's a fiery topic. Everybody's got their thoughts on that. Pillars and locking in and everything. And, yeah, it's just sometimes it's what the move calls for. If he stays, you make a couple moves. Does the team get overall better? The devil's always in the details. So while I say I'm okay with it, like I understand it, it's still what's on the backside of that. Show me what's on the backside of it. If it means a top striker, a CB, a fullback, 3 like key signings, like, then I can roll with that. And I think that would help the group out way more. And then you've still got guys you got to move. Vlahovic, which you could get some capital there. That could fund a move. potentially 2, depending on what kind of signings they are. So good for the group. Maybe not so much for our hearts immediately, but it's a sad reality sometimes. Sad reality. Let's see. But Giuntoli, this guy's taking heat. Kolomuani debacle, man. Holy smokes, this thing. One thing after another. Prada, photos getting taken off. All of a sudden, yesterday, you got, what the hell, paperwork that's not filed. They're saying the deal's off, and then they're like, oh, no, wait a second. PSG has no loan slots available. Giuntoli's taking heat for this. I don't know how. I can't do it, boys. This is on PSG. You're a fucking joke. Seriously. If you're sitting at the table negotiating, like, Trim, you come to me for one of my players. Hey, we're looking at loaning this guy. No problem. And I'm just like, yeah, here you go. Cover his salary. We're good to go. Yeah, no problem. We'll get him on a flight. We're all good. And then all of a sudden it's like someone taps you on the shoulder 5 days later. Hey, we can't actually do that right now. Oh, well, fuck you, Trib. You should have told me that. What? What are we talking about? Guys.
Apparently, Giuntoli's supposed to know the ins and outs of every club, according to some people. Again, I touched on this in the green room. I think, personally, the blame towards Giuntoli is strictly related to our current situation. That's just me. Because, again, if there wasn't so much turmoil right now surrounding the club, if we were in a better position in the standings-wise, I think this would just be something we kind of scoff at and laugh at and just say, like, really, PSG, what a joke club, Mickey Mouse, you know? But because of the current situation, because of the players that we brought in the summer that haven't worked out to the full potential yet, because of the way Giuntoli's pushed players out, it's just another thing to add to the list of, oh, Giuntoli, this is disgraceful. How do you not know the ins and outs of the other teams and their loan lists when you sit down to negotiate? How do you not know this? Like Paulo said in the green room, what would you not just have it in your back pocket? PSG's sporting director just put, oh, the loan list. Oh, hold on, let me count the names. Let me see if I have any open spots. It's like, I don't know. I don't really get it. So for me, I just kind of laughed at it and I just said, hey, I actually said yesterday, I go, to be honest, if the deal falls through, I know a lot of people are probably, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but if the deal actually fell through, I wouldn't be upset at all. I would actually be like, oh, well, find another target, because I'm not convinced this guy's coming in and going to light the league on fire. And then even if he did, we'll have to negotiate with PSG in the summer because it's not a permanent thing. So for me personally, it's no sweat off my back. I won't be upset either way if he does end up coming in and playing, or if the deal falls through. So that's just me.
Yeah. Paulo, what do you think about this whole ordeal?
It's a shame, and I think Trim's totally right. The pileup of errors and issues and anger and frustration and concern since the mercato of the summer makes this on Giuntoli, whether he likes it or not, and it shouldn't be. I was looking forward to having Colo. I was looking forward to him starting against Milan. I was looking forward to having him push Dusan. I was looking forward to him holding the fort if Dusan gets moved before the end of the month. I was looking forward to him doing well and us maybe getting a good price in the summer if we were interested. I was looking forward to maybe Luis getting in the middle of the lineup and sending those long balls down to a Colo who can run faster than everybody else on the field. So I was really excited about him, and it's really disappointing. And I wanted him to show up in the Allianz home stadium today to a roaring crowd and pull out the win and maybe get a goal. So it's really frustrating and disappointing, and I'm mad at PSG. And I think, honestly, the way the management's kind of fumbling a little bit potentially on our side, they must have had a checklist of things to ask. I don't know if the lawyers missed it or what, but it's a shame. In the end, it's a shame, and I was looking forward to seeing him on the pitch today starting.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shit show. I mean, it's a joke from PSG's angle, but I think Giuntoli, there's just heat coming, because I think if I'm looking at this January window in general, like, again, where are the center backs? Like, what's the plan of attack here? Because now all of a sudden you've got moves that are coming up out of nowhere randomly that are starting to take the spotlight. Like Cambiaso's not a necessity in January whatsoever. Like he just isn't. Then all of a sudden, like I said, you're going to take a chunk of that capital. You're going to spend it in January. You're going to get fleeced because you don't build in January. So, but where are the center backs? Where are the center backs? You've got an agreement in place with Henko for the summer. You need players now. So like, I'm at a loss. Like, I think Giuntoli's taken heat for several things because I said it before, I still don't understand the fact that you're above taking any free agent from this whole period of time. Where are you now? We're January 18th. You've got not even one center back brought in here. It's wild to me. I'm not really sure what's going on. It's got no ideas. Like everything that we've gone for. So Silva, shut down by Benfica. Henko's not coming this year. And then you've got, who's that? Araujo. Looks like he used us to get that renewal. What are you doing here? Find somebody. You have to find somebody. Luckily, he realized one thing. You have to have an Alberto to succeed. So we got Alberto Costa, and I'm going to pick up that kit. You're goddamn right. Because he put Alberto on the back, not Costa. So I'll get that kit.
Nice
Thank you
kit.
very much. But, yeah, I mean, he's going to take some heat. Because here you are with zero solutions. If you end up falling back to free agency, which you could have done this entire time, that's going to be a huge egg in the face of Giuntoli. Big time. You can't go without doing anything. You have to find at least, at minimum, one center back. Tomori is the one we're rumored to be going after for $30 million.
And they're going to meet after today's game. Hey, can you just come over here for a sec and grab a espresso? Let's talk about Tomori. He looked good today. What do you want for him? Oh, I don't know. I don't really want to get rid of him. He's quite good.
Well, Malik Shaw got hurt, so he's hurt too now.
Oh,
so,
great. There you go.
So Tomori's gonna be needed. I don't understand this chase for things that don't seem to be adding up. And then Tomori, if it was gonna be like this, because I do like Tomori, but if it was gonna be like a bargain, a better deal, okay, that's a move you make at $30 million. I'm not so sure it's necessary. So he's probably gonna get stuck. And he's going to fall back on either going to like some young unknown playing God knows where that may or may not help us and still avoid free agency with some experience that's there. And then I'm going to be pissed if he falls back, if all avenues fail and he has to go back. You could have had that bastard in November when shit hit the fan. And you let your team, you let your coach go through this entire period without support. So he's got some heat. He's got some heat to take for sure. For sure.
We could have had Hummels in what was it, October, November, and Adam, follower of the channel. It would have been like what could have been. We could have had Hummels before he ended up walking on to Roma. He looks pretty good playing at Roma, doing a good job there. I don't know.
I don't understand. He doesn't want and yeah, are all our pickups going to be young guys? Are we ever going to mix in some experience? Are we, like there's fair questions to be asked. Okay, there's fair questions to be asked about Giuntoli. But
if you're going to play four at the back, you need at least 7 or 8 backs.
Yeah.
And we're not even that close. There's 12 days left in the month, 13 days. That's not a lot of time. There's 2 Champions League games coming, which we have to do well in to move to the next round. So that means maybe there's another Champions League game. There's still 18? How many games are left in Serie A? There's still
18.
So there's 18 games there. Now, if you think you're going to try and get away with Kalulu and Gatti for 21 games straight, that's a disaster. That's a complete disaster waiting to happen. And I pity those two guys for the shit they're going to get because they had to do what they had to do because there was no other choice. And what, maybe you move Savona into a center back and try him there? The 19-year-old who's been asked to solve your right back problems all season?
Yeah.
It's disturbing and troubling, and there's not much time left to fix it. And they're looking at Dorgu, who looks good, but he's a right back. Dorgu, he's a right back. So I don't know what's going on. I hope he has a list in his back pocket with a bunch of people we don't know who are ready to come and slide in and help us out.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but the longer it goes, the less promising it is. And I what's infuriating is that it's the same names. Like, you've got the same names coming up that hasn't amounted to anything. Like, you feel like if it was going to get done, this would have happened already. So what's the alternatives? Let's start hearing some alternative names, because we're not getting anything. Then you're getting Axel Disasi or whatever, and it's like the coach there is saying, I'm not letting him go. I don't want to let him go. Maresca doesn't want to let him go. And then it's just like, oh yeah, well, Juve's going to continue to chase. I saw one headline. This is where it's gotten to. I saw one headline the other day that said, Antonio Silva is not a candidate, but Juve is going to continue to press. What? All in the same headline. He is not a candidate. Benfica said no, shut it down, but Juve is going to continue to press. What? Spinning our tires here. Telling you, that's going to be a tough look for old Giuntoli. It really is. He's got to figure it out. And he's running out of time. January 18th, market closes February 2nd or 3rd. Might be the 3rd. But one of those days, it's going to shut down. You still got no help. And meanwhile, Motta's not necessarily free and clear on everything. Because player treatment's kind of something that's been a concern all of a sudden. Cambiaso was one of the players mentioned that was at the forefront of some heated discussions between players and coach. And then you have the player meeting called by Locatelli. All the players with Motta. I don't know. You got the Danilo thing in the background. I don't know. There's weird things. Weird things going on. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, even Motta is pushing too hard, too fast. And you know what? You're not going to have all the guys for your game in year one. You might not have that. But to say no to bodies just because they're not your ideal profile, like, is that what's going on? Take the body. Deal with it. And to be honest, I'm just going to say it because I've already said it a bunch of times. Our best games are outside of his actual philosophy anyways. And I hope we played that way today. I'll be quite honest. I hope we played today exactly how we played against Atalanta. So I've got concerns all over the board, everybody. So might as well get into it with Milan here, because it's a big game. Conceição started off things with 3 wins and 1 draw. Of course, 2 of those come from behind victories at the Supercopa. He's got a few concerns ahead of this game as Pulisic, Morata, and Cha were forced off with injuries against Como. Cha is definitely out. Morata is suspended for this one. And Pulisic suspected to be starting from the bench in this game. Okay? When you get to Samuel Chukwueze, Loftus-Cheek, and Florenzi are all already out with problems. Gabbia should be in there for another start for Milan. If you're going to look at them, this is what's expected that we're going to get from them. So Leao, Reindeers, Ibanez, and Abraham will make that front 4. Musa, Fofana, but also seen one where it had Benasser in there. And I also saw one where Pulisic was starting. So we wait and see there. Across the back, that is what's expected. Emerson Royal, Gabbia, Tomori, Hernandez, and then, of course, Mike Mignon at the back. When we get to Juve side, Vlahovic makes it back in, but he's not expected to start. Conceição still out. And this one actually does have Vlahovic up at the top, but the majority show Nico Gonzalez at the top and Mbangula as your left winger. At the back, I've seen different variations. I've seen one where Cambiaso is ahead of Savona and McKennie remains at left back. So you got Di Gregorio, Cambiaso, Gatti, Kalulu, McKennie, Locatelli, Thuram, Cope Miners as your 10, Yildiz, Mbangula, and Nico Gonzalez. Guys, what do you think? Paulo.
I think I've seen this movie before. I get how you might want to rest Cambiaso if you're selling him or if he's still not completely healed from his ankle, so you want him in for a half maybe. So maybe Savona comes in the second half. I guess that makes sense to me. The whole Coop thing in that spot still baffles me. I've been crying about getting Luiz in there and having Locatelli sit behind him and recreating something like he succeeded with in Villa. But it is what it is, guys. Like I said, we've seen this before. The results might give us the same results, and I hope not. I hope we get a win.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up this other variation that we saw here. So this is what we're seeing a lot of. Trim, which do you prefer?
To be honest, neither. Just because they both have the focal point being Coop in the number 10 spot. Listen, he's my guy. He's gonna continue to be my guy until he's no longer with Juve. I really do like Coop. I believe in him still. I don't think he's as washed up as everybody's been saying, and I think he has a lot more to offer. But I don't think it's in that number 10 role. Would I be opposed to seeing him start from the bench and putting Luiz in there? Absolutely not. Because we haven't seen it. Or at least if we have, it's been maybe one game where we've had someone else occupying that 10 spot. And I know it was Yildiz actually in the Coppa Italia game against Cagliari, and that worked out fantastic. So you've got a healthy Weah, you've got Nico, Vlahovic, and Mbangula that can all play up top there. So I don't know, for me, like I said it last week as well before the pregame, I would put Yildiz at the 10 and then maybe bring in either Weah or slide Nico to that side or Mbangula and then just put Vlahovic up top to start. But again, it depends on how match fit, I guess, Dusan is. So if he's starting from the bench with the current formation that we have up there right now, I would just put Weah on the right, slide Yildiz over, Coop from the bench. Or you want to put Luiz in that spot, just take Coop out and put Luiz in that spot and start this exact lineup. That's really it in terms of, trying to make some subtle adjustments with what we got.
If I'm looking at this, I want to go back to Milan here for a second. So with Teo and Leao on that side, I'm actually leaning towards not playing Cambiaso on that side. And if he was going to play him on the left, and I'd keep Savona on that side. Did a good job before. He'll do a good job again. Some would disagree with me there, but I'm serious. I would, and I'd put Cambiaso to the other side. And this also would free up McKennie to be used further forward. And I'd have him the one supporting piece because I would play this game the exact same way as how we played Atalanta, and that is clamp down and hit them on the transition and get him up there creating chaos. And he can mix it up with Nico as well, but that's probably how I would play it. I think Cole Miners would probably be starting this game on the bench for me, to be honest, especially if he's going to start in that role. I just haven't seen it. But it's tough because Cambiaso, I still do feel he's his best on the right side. So I'm kind of intrigued to see it, especially with Yildiz being the guy ahead of him. I'd really like to see it. Earlier on in the season, we had a game where Chico and Cambiaso went off, and we never saw it again. So I'm curious to see it with Cambiaso and Yildiz. So that's not the be-all, end-all. I can deal with the rest. But the thing for me is coal miners as a 10, it's just, like Paulo said, seen this movie before. So I don't know. Flatten it out, make a 4-3-3, and just act accordingly. But the thing here, the biggest thing, anybody else that plays that role that you watch, it's this stupid hybrid style of switching them from a flank. Play them straight north and south. I have no idea why we continuously do it this way, and it doesn't help. Any transitions that happen on the left side of the pitch, Cope can't take part in because he's still just trying to get back into a regular 10 position because we're not playing it north and south. It's go back, form your flat 3 midfield with you on the outside, and then in possession, you go up to the 10, and that's why everything is slow as hell half the time with our game, is any type of setups that deviate big time from your defensive mold to your offensive mold. Typically that creates slow gameplay, slow transitions for sure, because you're not keeping it close to the same shape. And that's what I notice all the time with Cope Miners, because he's playing Metsala defensively, flat outside, and then if the transition's coming from the other side, takes him forever to get to where he needs to be. Not his fault. Our fault for not making a simple adjustment. Have no idea why. Doesn't change anything with Thuram and Locatelli. They just get a little bit wider to accommodate him coming back defensively so that he could stick right in the heart of the pitch. I don't really get it. But as far as approach, are you guys with me? Same approach against Atalanta? Clamp it in transition? No? You want to dominate the ball, Paulo?
Yeah, I do. You're at home. I think that Milan backline is really suspect. You can take Royal to the cleaners all day, and I'm not sold on Teo. He makes mistakes. That's why he dives a lot. So I think we can go after that defensive line and punish him. I think without Pulisic and with Leao being kind of isolated, they're vulnerable. I can't imagine sitting back in the first 10 minutes at home and not having the fans start to lose their shit. I think you go after Milan. I think you can exploit them on the edges. I think what I don't, and I also think one of the issues that happened with Atalanta was when we did counter, you had these through balls going to poor Coop, who's trying to make his way through the middle and be the number 9, right? So I kind of want to avoid those situations. And part of what I think will help, because I love Coop too, but what I think will help is keeping everybody really high, a really high line, constant pressure, and allow these guys to stay in and around the box, get back some of that possession, and try and get a couple of goals and get a lead and keep the pressure on that team while you're on the road. I'm worried about the counter, and I'm working, and I'm worried about sitting back at home.
Huh. Trim, how do you want us to play this one?
So obviously the game plan against Atalanta worked pretty well. We didn't get the result, but you could see that the game overall looked better. But I'm kind of on the fence with this one. And I'm now listening to Paulo's kind of take. I'm kind of leaning more towards what he was thinking, which is, possess the ball, and we're home. We have to really take it to this team. But the reason why I have a hard time saying this is because I've been crying for this pretty much all year. Kind of a relentless attack. Just keep pushing, keep pressing. It doesn't matter if you've got 1 goal, if it's tied, if you've got 2 goals, just keep pushing. But Motta's style is clearly not that. So I think he's just going to sit back and, like you said, maybe hit on the counter, kind of like Atalanta. But Paulo's point, first thing I saw or jumped out at me when I looked at that lineup, both sides, is Yildiz against Emerson Royale on that side. If he plays on the left side, that would be huge. You just expose that all game. Teo as well. I tend to give Teo a little bit more respect in the sense that yes, he has his moments like all players do, but I just feel like Mbangula going up against an experienced player like that we'll have our moments, but I feel more confident with Yildiz on that right side going up against Emerson Royale.
And Bangula is a different player on the right side. He's nowhere near as effective as on the left.
Yeah, exactly.
He hasn't looked good in the moments he's had the right side.
Yeah.
Yildiz just get the guy on the pitch. But what I liked about the Atalanta game, and this is why I'm saying I'd stick to it, is the absolute freedom the players had. It was probably the most fluid we've been, especially in transition. You've got a lot of pace on the field. You have a lot of pace between Nico, Yildiz, and Mbangula. That's a lot of pace to turn the game around on them and go at them. I'm not saying you need to let up completely, okay, and like go right back to your box and park it, but I would definitely let them have the ball for the beginning and try to come and then hit them back and quickly and swiftly. It's the most cohesive we've looked is the games we've played in that manner. And I know that my heart wants me to jump on board and say, yes, take the ball, you're at home, you punch him in the mouth, like get after it. But my brain then tells me, do you remember what we've seen from this team when you're on the ball and it's slow and there's no ideas and the defenders end up with the ball for the majority of the time? It's, yeah, I think I'd probably lean towards that route because I think it's brought the best gameplay out of us, the most cohesion, and this one, we got to win. We have to win. This Milan is there for the taking. We're at home. Like, you got to get the job done. I don't care how. Enough's enough. 13 draws, 7 wins. Like, you win this game. Let's go.
It's an interesting problem, Bert, because Milan is not Atalanta. Do you think Milan will come out and attack? I think Conceição is probably very aggressive in his approach. He likes to keep things simple. But Atalanta is always on the front foot. And Mota wasn't on the sideline. So that conservative approach really helped. And I think Man City, knowing they're going to have possession, they're going to be pressing, again, that kind of conservative defend and counter makes sense. I don't know what Milan we're going to see. And I don't know if we quite know Milan yet, the Conceição Milan. So maybe they will press and that will be the right reaction. Maybe they won't, and you'll have two teams saying, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. And then the other strange thing is we've been really vulnerable with balls in the box. So I'm a little bit worried about giving this shitty Milan team, who are still vulnerable, the opportunity to get players around the box, get reindeers outside the box, taking pot shots, lobbing that ball in, letting Leao run in. So I'm a little worried about those balls coming into the box because that's where we've been caught.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, to each their own. It's a split feeling based on what we've seen. Honestly, yeah, what Milan will we see? What are we going to see? But I think, like, honestly, we've got enough coverage that we could slow them down and create issues. We did that. We already did that against this team. You could shut them down. You can close the lanes. You know that they're predominantly through the left side. We know that. So you play your shutdown on that side, right? But again, some simple tweaks in our setup that allow you to hit them back and quickly. You know who the side that is defending and sitting back when they push through that left? It's Royale's side. Royale with cheese, baby. It's time to take advantage. So let's see. Let's see what we got dialed up. It's time
Whatever
for predictions.
Works, right?
We are going to do Storm the Barn.
Whatever works. Whatever gives us a win.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Whatever the hell works. Mm-hmm. Juve, undefeated in their last 28 matches in Serie A. That number keeps skyrocketing. I said this on the last live. Like, any one of us, you tell us the beginning of the year, you're going to be January 18th. You're going to be undefeated in the league. Man, you're going to sign that contract so damn fast. Fast forward to it being only 7 wins, and you're like, shit. Should have read the fine print. Juve have been drawing at both halftime and full-time in their last 3 matches in Serie A. Could be a tiebreaker option here. Juve have drawn 7 of their last 8 matches. Milan undefeated in their last 7 away matches against Juve in all competitions. Interesting. Final score, 2 tiebreakers. All right. Who wants to kick things off?
You guys go ahead. I'm gonna
I'll kick things off. I don't mind. We got ourselves a draw today, everybody. All right.
No surprise.
Man, a part of me wants to say, I feel it's gonna be a draw, but I'm gonna go a little bit different here. I'm gonna say that Juve does not get the jump in this game. I'm going to say that Juve falls behind by 1 goal. I'm going to say Juve equalizes and Juve takes the game on a greasy goal to take it 2-1. So I'm going to say that we reverse the fate that we suffered and were handed in the Supercopa. So from 1-0 down, 2-1 victory. That's my prediction. And some tiebreakers, I guess. Well, I gave you the orders, so that's 1 tiebreaker. From 1-0 down, come back. And I'm going to say that Yildiz gets on the score sheet for sure.
Go ahead, Paul.
Well, thanks, Bert. You took pretty much everything I had in my head and said it first. It's funny because during the Atalanta game, before that game, you said, Bert, you would do the reverse jinx, right? You predicted. And my weird thing on that game was it has loss written all over it. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 tie. This one, I think, has tie written all over it. So I'm going to go with a Juve win. And I want to go with 2-1 as well because I think that makes sense. I'm going to try and think of some tiebreakers. I think Yildiz will get a goal as well because the kid's on fire and almost everything he does is wonderful. I'm so thrilled we have that young kid as our star. Yeah. And I think Bangala is going to undress Royale because I think they're going to match up on that far right side. Well, Bangala's left. And I think he's going to undress Royale a bunch. And I think he's going to put a ball in the second half for Vlahovic. And I think he'll get the winner. So it'll be 2-1, Yildiz and Vlahovic.
There we go. Trim.
So I'm pretty much 0 for 350 in this little game we call prediction challenge.
So you're due.
So I'm due. Well, you'd hope. So clearly I got no read on this team score lines. So just gonna kind of shoot from the hip. Heart saying 1-0 Juve, head saying 1-1 draw. So if they do get the win and they squeak out a stinky 1-1-0, the obvious choice for goal scorer is Yildiz. I mean, the guy's on fire. He seems to be the only guy that has something kind of creating chances, generating anything. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 Juve win, Yildiz goal. Do we know who the ref is in this game? Because I'm thinking of cards, and I know
I can get you those numbers.
Skanga's usually our token ref
guy. It's usually
a
set the Tony segment, but let's take a look. I got it right here. It is Davide Massa.
Okay.
You'll know exactly who this guy is when you see him. Yeah. 206 Serie A appearances, 5 yellows per game, 43 reds in those 206 appearances, and 67 PKs.
Ooh, so maybe we get a PK in there, but yeah, for my second tiebreaker, I'm going to go with cards. We'll go with 5 both sides, 5 total cards.
5 total. All right. Well, let's see. We got a lot of draws naturally in the chat here. We do have some 2-0 victories. We've got a big 4-1 victory call here. My God. From your from your keyboard there to the football gods, I'd love for that to happen. Let's see. But we're going to get into Storm the Barn here, everybody. And like I said, it's just crazy circumstances around the team, crazy feelings. I mean, the Cambiaso news out of nowhere and complete split and divide on that one. But yeah, there's just a lot of work still to be done. And this build is nowhere near where we probably should be. Yeah, I can't understand some of the decision making, some of the depth we did not bring in. Giuntoli and Motta, to be honest, both of them kind of at fault. But Motta did say something in his presser. I don't know if he was just being tongue in cheek with the media, but when he said, you know, when he was asked, well, have you asked for guys to say, he said, yes, I did. They were sold anyways. But he laughed. And I don't know if he was, you know, just having fun there, or is he, you know, symbolizing something. Let's start with that. Who was he talking about? If you think he's being serious, who do you think he was talking about?
Player-wise?
Yeah.
Ooh. That's a good question.
Many believe it's Sule, which turned into being a good business move.
I'm almost wondering if it was Huijsen, and only because of, you know, center back depth. He didn't want Rugani. Could have been a nice little, you know, go-to guy off the bench. Obviously high upside, but at the end of the day, he also was looking to, you know, further quote unquote better himself and go to a, you know, bigger club, and didn't end up going there. Ended up going to Bournemouth. But yeah, I don't know. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe Huijsen.
Sule and Huijsen's probably the right guesses there. So then, did we get ourselves a yes man? And like Giuntoli just still doing what he wants to do? Is he? That's a bit of a problem. That's a bit of a problem.
I don't think he's talking about anybody. Giuntoli brought him in. He came in on the cheap. He's got a 3-year deal. Giuntoli's running the show. He's given Motta a chance to influence decisions with players. I think he's saying in general, I'm not in charge of that. If the management will do what they want to do, I don't think he would infer a player and put any spotlight back on Giuntoli in a negative way, because they're reliant on each other right now very deeply.
Yeah, it's interesting. It was interesting. I think he was just being tongue-in-cheek, to be honest, with the media. I don't think there was anything serious to it, but it's, you know, timing is everything. And the timing around saying something like that, I don't even think he realized. But here we are. Alex P. Storm the Barn, first one. We brought Giuntoli for deals like the Alberto Costa deal. Instead, he wants to overpay for Silva and Tomori. Who's keeping him in check? Is there such a person at the club? Well, this is just it. Something we've talked about a lot. Like, who is doing it? Your active CEO and president are temps. I don't think anybody is doing it. So it's kind of crazy, and maybe Giuntoli needs that. He had it at Napoli, you know, saying like, "Hey, man, I don't know about this" or whatever, and it's like, well, you're not gonna go to the Panda Bear and ask him his take on a potential move. Like, he's not. What's he gonna say? I don't know. I don't know. There is nobody there right now. We have to find somebody. You absolutely have to. But yeah, right now, keeping him in check. Nobody. The pressure that's coming from the above has to do with top four. Solely top four. And the finances. Why did we get rid of Facundo Gonzalez? He's a huge talent and fits Motta's system to perfection. We were thin at the back, and he could have helped out. We almost got nothing from his sale. Was it a final sale though? Because it was loan. Is it loan with option? I can't remember the details on Facundo Gonzalez's move. I'll pull it up though.
I think it was option. Pretty sure.
The thing here is this falls in line with what we were saying earlier on the depth. You said goodbye to a ton of center backs. Rugani, Hoyson, and Facundo Gonzalez. You kept none of them. And it was like, well, what are we doing here? You've got zero depth now. Zero, all of a sudden. So, option to buy. So, just trying to see to Feyenoord. Dutch club will pay a loan fee of 500,000. Agreement includes an option to buy at 6 million euros. This option will be triggered if certain conditions are met, but it's unclear what those conditions are. So it could turn into obligation. Maybe it's based on appearances or something. But that's it. Yeah, I don't really understand it. You had a bunch of them. We got rid of seemingly all of them and left ourselves with no depth. I don't understand it, and I can't answer the why. Wish I could.
He really gambled because Cabal was allegedly able to play center back too.
Yeah.
So he really gambled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't think anybody Danilo at the center back role was insane. It was just not, it can't happen with the high line or anything like that. But Rugani on just a loan, mind blowing to me. Mind blowing. And even in the chat, they're saying Rugani is the most puzzling one. Matt here.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally no advantage to it.
He's a fine utility guy too. Like he's not a worldie, but he's a fine utility guy in a pinch.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah. Happy to sit 5th, 6th on the chart?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
He knew his role. And he played it well.
And is he a left-footy? Is he left-footed?
He's right-footed Rugani. The only thing is, he surprisingly had a heavy salary. Rugani's salary was surprisingly high for a 5th choice. So, but at the end of the day, what's more worth it to you? Like zero depth or maybe a guy that's on a slightly too high of a salary? I'd take the depth.
100%.
And based on how things played out, it's easily worth that money. Easily would have been worth that money to call upon Rugani.
Yeah.
Frustrating. We are making the same mistake in the Mercado that failed the summer and system that's not working. If we lose top 4, done. Mota goes. If we lose top 4, done. Mota goes. Everybody's got their own feelings on this. Many feel that he's staying regardless. Others feel that he's potentially in the hot seat right now. Others feel he for sure goes. What do you guys think? What do you actually think the club will do? Let's not say about what you believe should happen. What do you think the club will do if we don't reach top 4?
If they're committed to the P word, I'm not going to say it. I had a good laugh with you guys bringing up the P word. So if they're actually committed to said word that shall not be said, I think they'll end up keeping him regardless. Just because I feel like the club not goes against, but is not in line with like what we would think in our hearts and in our minds, what we think they would do. So the obvious answer would be that they would keep him despite the fact that they don't make it. What I think personally is I think they should and would let him go. But I also think that Giuntoli needs to be assessed and looked at and evaluated in terms of everything since the past summer. Not to go too far on a rant, but I know he only had really one window. It's two years, but one real window, which was this past summer. We all know that, and based on the finances and everything. But how he's left the squad, no depth, like it has to be addressed if we don't ultimately make top 4.
Paulo, what do you think the club's going to do?
I think Giuntoli and Mota are intrinsically tied. The success or failure of one um, drop costs the other as well. So for that reason, and with no one on top really running the show, I think Giuntoli and Mota get a pass this summer, whether we like it or not. And I think they both stick around. But I would disagree with that. But I think that's what will happen.
I think there's a bit of separation there. And I think Giuntoli wouldn't hesitate to separate himself from Malta and whatnot in the scenario to protect his self. I think Malta, I think there's a bit of a change in tune and demeanor from him as well. So I don't think he's safe. I think some player issues behind the scenes. Like I don't get the vibes that he's safe, no matter what. So I'm gonna say that I think he would be sacked. As far as Giuntoli goes, I don't know if he would be gone. I don't know if he would, but
so Giuntoli throws him under the bus. You're saying Giuntoli will throw him under the bus
and runs him over with the bus.
Well, because the depth is on Giuntoli.
He wouldn't hesitate to do so. Wouldn't hesitate to do so. But yeah. I don't get the vibes that Mota's safe. I really don't. Mitch, you agree that Giuntoli had no plan B when he failed on Calafiori? I think that was a turning point early on. From then, our mercado was horrible. I don't really know. I think wasn't it put out there that it was either Cope Miners or Calafiori and it was up to Malta and Malta chose Cope? I think this comes down to what you want to believe at the end of the day. I mean, we were there at the table for Calafiori. Maybe Giuntoli walked away because he got pissed off that they upped it 20 million from what was the first agreed upon price. Maybe he said, you know what, fuck you guys. I don't really know. As far as Giuntoli having no plan B, I stand firm on the summer moves. Guys, when you're signing guys that are on consecutive strong seasons, you shouldn't be seeing Cope Miners like the way he is, that we're all like, what the hell? Like, this guy's been a top Serie A midfielder how many years running? There's nothing special Atalanta does that another club cannot emulate. It's crazy to me. Douglas Luiz, strong for Villa. There's no reason this guy, other than the physical problems, but there's no reason this guy needs to be like completely drop faded, everything. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on. It makes me think there's bigger problems around Juve. Bigger issues. Maybe something else. But yeah, as far as no plan B, I don't know if it's no plan B because there was a lot of targets. A lot of different avenues it could have went. At the end of the day, his biggest downfall was the lack of depth. You could stand behind all the other moves and you can make sense of every move he did in the summer, and I'll stand behind all of them. Right now for January though, since November till now, this is where I'm starting to get my question marks on. I think the summer's an easier time frame to work with as a sporting director. It's when shit hits the fan and you have to make decisions. What are you doing? And right now, it's been pretty passive. You need help now. The argument was there in November, so I've got question marks. But I don't know. Does he lack a plan B? Did he lack a plan B, in your opinion?
For me, no, because at the time, like you said, there were a lot of different names out there. I think, and again, people may look at this as making excuses for management, but at the end of the day, it's just a fact. Paulo brought it up. It's one price for Milan or Napoli for a target, and then when Juve comes calling, add 20, 30, 40 million, depending on the age of the player, the current situation, and all that. So if we got to take those blinders off as fans and realize like Giuntoli and whoever the sporting director is that works for Juventus has to deal with all these issues. I think the biggest thing is we kept hammering away at this, that we need to stop dealing with Serie A teams, if we're being completely honest, when it comes to looking at players. If we deal outside of Serie A, that might change things a lot. And especially when we tend to get, when we get more money and we actually start being able to spend, that might change things a lot because teams will see that we're spending that money elsewhere.
Yeah, it's it's tough. It goes back, honestly, you can go back to Cambiaso with this thing too. We're still negative 199. That's what the deficit is. You're still 200 mil in the red. You have to get rid of this. You have to clean it up until you can be at a point where you start having leverage, having strength, calling shots. We're simply not there. Doing that, it will help. Taking your business elsewhere. But then again, you'll start seeing that some other things are going to go down. Italian players, Italian talent, like Italian core, etc. And I know that's a big thing. And to be honest, it should be a big thing. We should always be surrounded. We should always have a good hold on top Italian talents. And that's kind of one of the things that's, you're trying to juggle so much. But when you have no leverage and you need money and you can't turn certain things down, this is the reality. It sucks. It sucks. But it's the reality until we get to a stronger financial state. And this is what pisses me off the most, because Serie A is doing absolutely nothing to do anything to bring up better revenue for all the clubs. The clubs are pretty much on their own. Finally, we're getting stadiums for certain clubs. A lot of renovations, a couple new stadiums, and that's more geared because the Euros. It's because of hosting the Euros in 2030, whatever the hell it is, right? Should have been done long ago. As well as boosting the production value. 1 million stories across Serie A. You got a falconer with a penile implant here. Come on, sell that shit. Let's go. Serie A. Nobody's got stories like Serie A. Let's go. There's a lot to work on. It's not going to be fixed overnight. You can make sense of how they're trying to do it, but like, it sucks. It sucks because we're in this spot. It sucks because we're in the spot, and this is the reality. Like, what are you going to do? But Serie A, oh man, they're not helping the clubs any. And there's this feeling where teams would rather send their talent elsewhere than keep them in Italy. And the teams all know that. How many times have you seen a player get listed from a club like Napoli? And it always has, well, this is the price for Juve.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is the price if Inter comes knocking, whatever. These guys don't care. They don't care either. So they're holding on to this competitive thing, and it's a mess. It's not working for anybody, and nobody's coming out ahead. In the end, everybody just suffers, right? It's kind of where it's at. Serie A's got a long way to go, and that's a part of it. We lost 70 to 80 mil in revenue last year from not being in European play.
It's big.
Maybe if you're looking at a sale that you normally don't want to do, maybe they're nervous that they might lose that again. And maybe they're planning on it. Because they're making some dangerous banking. Like banking on round of 16 Champions League was risky. But they financially accounted for that. Top 4, I don't think they thought was maybe going to be this difficult. Or maybe this team has a better understanding of where they actually are, and we just can't buy it. That's probably the most realistic. Would you agree, Paulo?
Well, I hope you're right. I hope they know what they're doing. Giuntoli was very bold and aggressive and rolled the dice on a lot of things going perfectly. I like most of our players. In fact, I really like the players of the ones we have. I do like them a lot. There is that thing called the Club World Cup coming up too. So the summer transfer window actually also involves a whole tournament that some of us will be going to. And who are we going to see in that uniform? I don't know. But Giuntoli really rolled the dice. And I don't know if he had a plan B or not, but look how everything's been at risk with that gambling.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. Gugino Eddie. We go into this season with last year's squad only adding Savona and Imbangula. Do we have more points than we have with this squad? So last year's squad, just with Savona and Imbangula added, do we have more points?
I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough one.
So we'd still have Rugani around? All these guys that got sold, the majority of them weren't even playing with us.
So I guess does he mean like none of the additions, none of the new guys, just the same squad as last year and just
Imbangula.
Wow.
And no injuries.
Yeah. Bremer's still playing. Yeah. It's tough.
Same coach?
Yeah, I was going to say
Mota
that.
has last year's team?
No, I would imagine he means Mota, just no Coop, no Louise, no Turam, no Kalulu.
It's a good question.
It's tough.
Rabiot, Chiesa around, Moise Kale.
I think you probably would have more points just because of the experience they have with each other. There's more seniority on that team, more familiarity. We've blown leads and tied, so I don't think you can be worse, honestly, than the results. I think possibly.
I don't know. It's weird. But then again, it's like, are we trying to make a point that we didn't need to change so much? Because there was contract scenarios on like all the guys we went through. Plus there was like capital trying to chew away at the big deficit. Like, it's not just about buying new players, but it's about bringing in money. It's tough. I don't
think
know.
also too, Mota's stubbornness is a big thing for me, and that's why I can't wrap my head around it, because who's to say that he wouldn't be as stubborn as he has been this season with last year's roster, right? And I think for me, that's the most discouraging thing I want to say when it comes to Mota, because I had a lot of faith in him, and I know a lot of people did, and what he did at Bologna. Again, yes, different club, different expectations, different roster, but if you just look at it simply from the fact that you're at a bigger club with more resources and a better roster with that same coach and that same style, you just would expect better results, and it's not there. And yeah, he's just been a lot more stubborn than I think most of us would have thought.
Yeah. Gugino Eddie saying, let's not forget Pogba.
Can't forget about Paul.
Couple games, if that. Oh, man. In my opinion, we can't judge Douglas Luiz until it had the same chances as Cope Miners. Yeah, I think it's way too early to do anything. I don't know. Some people just don't like him for the way he runs. Seriously. I've seen that over and over. There's no urgency to this guy. He's just nonchalant. I'm like,
no.
It's just like...
You ever see Pirlo run?
Yeah, like I was just like, what?
That guy walked around the field.
What difference does it make? I said, like, not everybody is going to be running like a bull in a china shop like Gattuso out here. Like, it's just, I go, Pirlo barely moved.
Yeah.
And
the ball did the work.
It's
yeah,
just,
and up here
different.
He was constantly
and everybody moved, and he just said, pop, pop.
And I'm not putting him on Pirlo's level by any means.
No.
But I'm just saying, not everybody is like that. And to him, he's reading the game, he's watching it, and he's just taking a casual, movement to get to the positions he wants. Is he out of position a bunch? No. Is Luis out of position a lot? No. I don't have a problem with like some guys can be over composed. He would probably fall in that category where he's got a lot of composure that it seems like he's nonchalant about stuff. But I don't think like it's tied into what people are saying like he doesn't give a shit. It's just the way his game transmits because he's pretty damn calm and composed.
His positioning's great. You see him kind of wiggle around when he dribbles, looking through spaces, moving the ball up. He doesn't like what he sees. He takes it around and moves somewhere else. And he's sitting there going like this, trying to get the other guys to move their asses. You got like 7 Juve guys standing there looking at him, wondering if they're going to get the fucking ball. And he's sitting there going, you're marked. You're marked. Move. And so until he gets the chances Coop gets, you're right.
I know.
You can't judge him.
It's hilarious. And guys, again, you have to realize the comparisons are not being made to Pirlo. Stop that. Stop that. Be better, you guys. Be better. You're saying that you don't have to sprint all the time to play in the midfield. You don't want to use Pirlo? Use a ton of other cases. Use fucking Busquets if you want to. Use Casemiro if you want to. Use whoever the hell you want. Just examples. Like you don't have to sprint full bore all the time playing in the middle of the pitch. God.
Yeah. So another flip side to that is he may not seem like he's sprinting, but to some people he is. What about a guy like Coop as an example? It looks like he's sprinting all the time, and has that benefited him? So that's the other side of it. So if you want Luis to sprint, you feel like
I don't even know if he's sprinting, Cope Miners. Like it doesn't even look like it.
That's what I mean.
Take your pick.
Exactly. So I'm just saying, like a guy that looks like he's giving more effort, sprinting more, and there's nothing really to show or not much to show for it. And then you're picking on a guy that, nonchalant, but you could see he's thinking out there, like Paul was saying. You could see he's.
I think it's getting really, really nitpicky. I really think it is. I think it's just getting to the point where it's over the top, where now we start looking at how a guy runs. It's just like, what? Come on. Brought this up briefly in the past. I don't believe we will have a progressive and solid project until we are at €0 of debt. Agree or disagree? You're gonna have you can run in the red a bit, but 0 might be like crazy. But like when it's in control, it'll absolutely be way more stable. Right now, that's the only way I could say it. Feels unstable. And that's because money's going to dictate decisions still, whether we like the decisions or not. Flat out.
Yeah, I think, like you said, €0 is probably pretty tough to get to, but you can, as long as it's manageable, I think that's the best way to describe it. When the debt is more manageable, definitely you'll see more additions, hopefully more depth, and better options for whoever the manager is at the time to use.
Yeah, to say we have to sell in order to balance everything and leverage, like you mentioned earlier. It's right now, money's calling the shots. We don't have to like those shots, but that's reality.
I think you can't have it both ways.
What's that?
I think you can have it both ways. You can. And I think what frustrates me is there's a couple of wins that were left on the field this year that might have changed this conversation a little bit. And I think you have to football. You don't get into owning a football club to make money. Owning a football club is basically a way to flush all your savings into the joy and passion and the hope, right? And the experience. So I think you can play it both ways. I think you have to. And I think we're a couple of wins from saying something different, maybe.
Yeah. The player's issue might be the final nail for Mota. If the locker room was calm, he'd probably be able to ride it out. So that's going back to our thoughts on Mota there. If there is truth to that, that probably would do it. The problem this season has been more on Mota than Giuntoli. He gave Mota the tools to succeed, and he's been far too stubborn. Agree, disagree? I think what Mota had was good. Lacked depth. It got called out, but I still think like we've always had enough to get by these chunk teams that we keep drawing.
Yeah.
And again, is there any truth to what's going on behind the scenes? We don't know. Let's see. Is the absence of Conceição due to his father coaching Milan? Conceição had no injury according to J Medical, but he already missed and again will be missing today's game against Milan as well. I think this is just a classic J Medical procedure. I think it has nothing to do with playing against his dad.
I'm surprised Colo didn't come out on crutches when he went for his medical.
I was gonna say, so you don't get the tinfoil hats out, Al? Not no conspiracy theories. This guy's secretly working on something in the background with his father. No, we're not.
I have zero faith in J Medical. None. Zero.
That's it.
Zero.
Yep.
Less than zero faith in J Medical.
What a reputation! My goodness.
Jeez.
No injury. We talked about all of a sudden going from muscle fatigue to all of a sudden Vlahovic has a back injury. There's no transparency either. So I don't trust them at all. Outsource everything. If I was Chico, don't even go near that friggin' place. Go get your own treatment. Seriously. It's a joke. We got time for a couple more. Let's see what we got. We should play Nico in the 10. Seemed to work pretty well unless Mota keeps being an ass and starting Cope in the 10 and not using him like one. Do you think they might go back to it? Nico in the 10. We talked about this a lot. For me, if you play a 10, play it properly, even if it is a midfielder. But then there's part 2, use a playmaker, right? Will we see it? Who knows? Who knows? I can't answer anything on Mota's fucking behalf. That's for sure. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
You know what? There was a time, all of a sudden, it was like Allegri. I could tell you exactly how everything was gonna go. You just got so locked in. You're just like, no, you know what? This is what he's gonna do. This is when the sub's gonna come. This way, and it was just like boom, 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 dominoes. Played dominoes. Mota, fuck. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, not a clue.
Yeah. Isn't this exactly why Next Gen was such a focus? Just to send them all away? Why? We need depth. Guys, I called this early. Okay? And I said, it's heading this route. You could see it a mile away. When your mercados start being like free signings, and you have $340 million in debt, you're plugging in all these young guys out there. That wasn't serious. That wasn't Juve being serious. But the lot started to feel that way. It was always draw money. Next Gen, the elite will and should be making the transition into the first team. The rest, it's a constant cash cow. It was always going to be that way. How much of it that you sell depends on the situations. What have we said this entire show? Right now, the finances dictate decisions. They probably sold a couple they wouldn't have wanted to. They probably sold a couple they didn't want to.
Yeah, and they definitely couldn't foresee all the injuries, but again, that's no excuse to leave yourself skinny in certain positions, right?
Yeah. Do you believe the news PSG did not know the restriction of loans? Are there other issues?
I do believe they did not know because they're stupid. That's it. They're dumb. It's PSG for fuck's sakes.
I mean, I would definitely not be surprised. Based on the news from the credible guys that they're working on finalizing one of the moves, it would lead towards that's the case. Who is more stubborn, Mota or Allegri? Now we're getting to the good stuff. Let's go. Who's more stubborn?
This is fantastic. I'm actually
Who's
excited
more stubborn, boy?
Oh,
Wow.
So
Good question.
typically I'd go with the latter, but in all honesty, I'm starting to lean towards Mota, man, especially this year. Like, which again, if this was me last year, I wouldn't even. I just once you start reading Allegri's name, I just go Allegri, Allegri. But I don't know. Right now, this year, it's hard not to look at Mota and his decisions and the lineup, and it's almost like being afraid to change. Like, it doesn't need to be a full formation change. I would like a 4-3-3 personally, but if he doesn't want to do that because that's just not his thing, fine. Just use your formation, but change players in certain positions. Like, keep beating a dead horse, But so I'd probably lean towards Mota right now, but maybe it's because Max is so far away in the rear view that you kind of forget about him, right? But
Paulo, who's more stubborn for you?
With Allegri, it was painful football, just painful.
yes,
But he said, "This is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to get. I'll get you to the Champions League. Shut up. Do your job." And then, but with Mota, it's beautiful game, beautiful performance. We do our best. We try. Tie. Same thing. Mota by far. Mota by far.
yeah.
I think it's close. But my God, man, I don't know. Mota, like if I asked this question, I asked this question a while ago on one of the shows. Can't remember who was with me. And I said, does it even feel like we got the same guy as last year in Mota? Because he changed from game to game. He deviated from plans to certain opponents. When he needed the width, he'd play in a manner that gave him that. When he needed to be narrow and compact, he did that. There's nothing of that sort in our game at all. There is no adapting. There is no change. Like, it is fucking rinse and repeat the same thing. I'm going to go with Mota. Hands down. I would go as far to say we would easily have more points with this side and Max Allegri here this year. Easily. I would go as far to say that as well. And I don't care.
He'd have these guys balling. Whether we liked it or not. He would be getting the results.
At least it'd be results. Like, we're watching shit. I don't think these games are fun to watch. Like, they're not.
No. They're upsetting.
So, yeah, I don't know. Mitch, what will I do if we win 4-0? If we win 4-0 today? I don't know. I'd probably grab a...
Is that another kit giveaway coming? I don't know. We gotta see. We might have to do another kit giveaway.
I'll start by chugging a beer out of sheer happiness. So I'll probably just shotgun a beer on the live watch along today. By the way, everybody, 20 minutes before kickoff, like an hour and 10 from now. Let's get it rolling.
Let's go.
A little bit under the weather, but that's not going to stop me. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll fire up the kick giveaway a little bit earlier. But there's actually a surprise with the next kick giveaways, and we're teaming up with our friends at Display Pro Inc. So the next kick giveaways will actually have some of their awesome displays that you see behind me that have the Chiellini Buffon and the 95-96. So we're going to partner them up. So you'll not only get a kit, you'll have a sweet display that you can put any of your kits on, okay? Collins?
Very cool.
Collins? Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll do Collins. I don't know if you're getting in, Reno, but we'll do Collins. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Take it easy. Yeah, we'll have some fun today. Look, at the end of the day, everybody, there's rumors, media. All I could say is buckle up, because we always knew this was happening. And right now, finances, people don't want to accept it. They don't want to believe it, because we know XOR makes such an insane amount of money. Guess what? It's not good business for them to keep dumping money into bonds to Juve. Juve at some point has to clean it up, has to get their shit together. The job right now, project, okay? Mm-hmm. The job right now is to build as competitive a team that you can while continuously working on the finances and getting that debt cleared. That's where it's at. A sponsor? Oh my God. Calvo. You know what? And by the way, everybody, on the 22nd, 15% off everything in the store. The day designs are already out. The day merch is out there. Another day. And Calvo, I got a stiff one right here for you, okay? 4 sponsors. You don't want to take any? That would have helped. God, what are we doing? Figure it out. But check out those new designs. It's a way to support. We love the support we get regardless. Okay, like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like I said, in an hour 10, we'll be right back getting ready for the match. Got to win today. Hopefully the guys put together a strong performance. Malta, your boy Colt Miners, you're throwing them out there time and time again. Force feeding this thing. I don't know. But we do need a victory podcast. So tomorrow, post-match, Lex is pretty fired up about Cambiaso, everybody.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
Lex is supposed to be here tomorrow, and you're going to get, we're all going to get the wrath of a woman scored, okay, by a transfer rumor. And if we don't get a victory to at least offset that, she might set this place ablaze. So watch out, everybody, okay? But we're going to have fun either way. Trim, Paulo, absolute pleasure, okay? Enjoy the match, fellas, okay? And everybody, again, no matter what, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. Ciao tutti.